That kitchen sink had been a little slow for more than a year, and nobody in the house ever decided that. They just adapted. You run the tap and walk away. You stack the dishes on the side that drains better. Nobody ever says it out loud. It quit on a Saturday with a full basin of water sitting on top of it. Pre-war bungalow, long run out to the stack, and the line had narrowed most of the way there. My machine went in twice. When I pulled the cabinet apart, the floor of it had swelled at the back. The joint under the sink had been weeping every time water stood in that line. By then, that was most of the time. That Saturday cost them the call and a cabinet. 18 months earlier, it would have cost them 3 minutes a week and nothing else. I've been doing residential plumbing a little over 30 years, and I'm still on the tools. I've cleared thousands of those lines. The houses I never get called back to aren't lucky houses. They're doing 3 or 4 small things, and most of them couldn't tell you that's what they're doing. Now, the title of this one says these are things we don't tell you about. Nobody's keeping anything from you. After 30 years, this is just how I do my own house, and it only looks like special knowledge from outside it. No homeowner has ever asked me what I do at home, and it's never occurred to me to bring it up. They're ordinary. That's exactly why they work. So here are 7 things I actually do, what each one is doing at the pipe wall, and which one matters more than the other 6 put together. Number 6 is sitting in almost every basement I walk into, and most people don't think of it as a drain at all. And at the end, I'll give you the 2-basin test. 10 minutes tonight, no tools, and it tells you whether a slow drain is something you can still fix yourself or something you can't. Before any of that, I want you to understand one thing because all 7 hang off it. Here's what's actually happening in a drain. A clog is not something that arrived. It's a surface that got rough. The drain lines inside your house run nearly flat. Water never fills them. It slides along the bottom and goes on its way. Everything you send down leaves a thin film at the water line and on the wall just above it. Fat, soap curd, fiber, starch. That film is soft and a little tacky, and it has one real property. It catches the next thing past. Each catch makes the wall rougher. A rougher wall catches faster. That's why drains don't fail on the day something goes wrong. They fail 18 months after nothing in particular. Which means there are only 2 useful things a person can do. Stop feeding the film, or scour the wall before the film sets. Every habit in this video is one or the other. Number 1 is the one that sounds least like plumbing. I time my drains. 1 sink, the stopwatch on my phone, once a month. That's the whole habit. I know how that sounds. A drain either works or it doesn't, and you'd have no reason to think of yours as a number. Nobody's ever given you a reason to. But a drain never slows overnight. The opening narrows a fraction at a time, and a household adapts faster than it notices. You run the tap a little longer. You stack on the other side. You walk away while it goes down. By the time it registers as slow, that line has been closing for a year. A number doesn't adapt. A basin that empties in 18 seconds in the spring and 29 in the fall is a line telling you exactly what it's doing while you can still do something about it. Without the number, it stays silent the whole way. The house quietly works around it. Then the first real stoppage arrives at the worst hour with a full sink of water sitting on top of it. A straightforward line clearing usually runs somewhere between $175 and $400. More on an evening or a weekend, and it moves around a fair bit depending where you live. So fill the basin, pull the plug, and time it. Write the number on masking tape inside the cabinet door. The tape costs nothing and it remembers better than you will. Time one sink tonight and write it down. Number 2 is a part of your sink you've probably never cleaned, and I don't say that as a criticism. It's the little slot near the rim of the bathroom basin. In the tub, it's the plate under the spout. Almost everybody reads that as a safety hole and nothing else. There's no reason you'd know there's a channel behind it with walls of its own. It's a hollow passage cast into the basin. It runs down and joins the drain below the stopper. Every time you use that sink, humid air and splash go into it and nothing ever rinses it out. It never sees the volume the drain sees, so biofilm grows in there in the dark, thick and black, and it doesn't stay put. It sloughs off in pieces, drops into the drain already sticky, and catches hair on the way past. So the sink that clogs is often being fed from 6 inches above the drain, not from anything anybody poured in. First, you get a smell at that sink you can't place. Then dark specks show up in the basin. Then the curved piece under the sink, the trap, starts catching far faster than it should. I see this in homes every week, and the fix is a bottle brush that costs a few dollars. Small bottle brush, warm water, a little dish soap. Work it into the slot 2 or 3 times a year. Then fill the basin and drop it so the water carries off what you loosened. Brush first, drop second, never the other way around. Do it next time you're in there with the water already running. Number 3 is what's sitting in your shower right now. Mine hasn't been a bar of soap in years. A bar of soap is about the most harmless object in the house. Nobody has ever been told their soap is a drain question, and in soft water, honestly, it mostly isn't one. Bar soap is made with fats. Hard water carries dissolved calcium and magnesium. Where the two meet, they make a curd that's no longer soap and no longer mineral. You've seen it on the glass and the tile. That curd is the binder. Hair on its own tumbles and moves along. Hair in curd sets into a mat that holds its shape and holds its place. Around here, the water's hard enough that you can watch that film build on a shower door in a week. The same thing is happening 6 inches down the drain where nobody looks. So the shower drains worse in winter than summer. The mat anchors at the strainer and at the trap. Then you've got a clog you can't pull out because it isn't loose anymore. A softener runs somewhere around $800 to $1,500 installed in this area, and I'm not telling you to buy one for this. That's a whole house decision for a whole lot of other reasons. Where the water's hard, use a liquid wash or a synthetic bar instead. I switched years ago, and my shower drain stopped being something I thought about. Look at what's on the shelf in there tonight. If any of this is useful, take a second and hit like and subscribe if you want the rest of them. There's nothing to buy here. No book, no checklist, no list to join. It just helps the videos find the people who need them. Number 4 takes about 10 seconds, and the whole thing is timing rather than equipment. Everybody knows hair clogs drains. You've got a strainer, so the matter feels settled. What nobody's told you is that a strainer only holds hair while the hair is still loose. Leave it a day. That same hair, sitting in the curd we just talked about, stops being a pile and becomes a plug. Water finds the gaps and pushes through it instead of lifting it off. Come back a week later and half of it has already gone past you. Hair that gets past a strainer does not come back. It wraps on the crossbars of the drain body, the little bars under the strainer. Then it hangs on the weir of the trap, which is the lip where the flow turns over. And there it sits, collecting everything after it. That's why a clean-looking strainer and a slow shower go together. The mat is already below where you can see it. Now about mesh inserts. Fine mesh over a shower drain in hard water is worse than nothing unless you clear it the same day, because the mesh gives the curd something to build on. And in a tub with a trip lever waste, you can't clear a mesh insert properly without pulling the overflow plate. so people quietly stop clearing it and the strainer becomes the clog. A barbed plastic drain stick costs a couple of dollars against a service call in the hundreds. Pull the hair wet in one motion before you dry off. Into the trash, not back down the drain. Once a week, run the shower hot on an empty stall for a minute after. Tonight before you get out. Number 5 is a rag. Mine lives next to the stove. You rinse a pan with hot water and soap and it comes out clean, so the job feels finished. That's fair. The pan really is clean. The pan was never the problem. Hot water and detergent don't destroy fat. They carry it. It leaves the pan suspended in the water and it travels for exactly as long as it stays warm. 4 feet out, 6 feet out, that pipe is at basement temperature. What was liquid in your sink is a soft solid on the pipe wall. It doesn't plug anything by itself. It makes the wall rough. Then it catches the coffee grounds, the rice starch, the skin off a chicken thigh, everything that follows it for the next 2 years. Here's the part that catches people, and I did this myself for years. Running hot water after greasy dishes makes it worse, not better. All you're doing is carrying that fat past the reachable part of the line to the coldest section, where nothing you own can get to it. In an unheated basement with a long horizontal run to a cast iron stack, the cold section starts about where your cabinet ends, not out at the street. So the kitchen line gets noticeably slower after a heavy cooking season. The horizontal pipe out of the trap starts catching everything. Then you get a clearing call that comes back inside a year because the line got opened, not scoured. That little mistake gets expensive fast, and it's the same $175 to $400 every time it comes back. Wipe the pan cold, or close to cold, into the trash. Then wash it. Anything with real volume goes into a can under the sink. Put something to wipe with next to the stove where you'll actually reach for it. Number 6 is the one I said is in almost every basement I walk into. It's $5 on your washing machine hose. Laundry doesn't feel like a drain subject at all. You assume the machine filters itself and the standpipe, that vertical pipe the hose hooks into, swallows everything without complaint for years. A wash cycle dumps a lot of water fast, and that water is full of fiber. Fiber is the worst thing that goes down a house drain because it's long and it tangles. It doesn't settle out quietly on its own. It snags on anything already rough, and once a few strands catch, everything after builds on those. Laundry water is also warm and loaded with surfactant, which is the exact thing that carries fat further along a line your kitchen also drains into. There was a 2-flat where the basement floor was wet every Sunday, and everybody in the building had decided it was the machine. It wasn't. The standpipe was backing up mid-cycle, and the laundry ties in low and close to the main. Whatever builds up there sits downstream of every other fixture in the house. So put a mesh sleeve over the discharge hose and zip tie it on. Few dollars. Replace it when it looks loaded, which for a family is every couple of months. A floor cleanup plus a clearing call is $200 to $450. There's a $40 inline version that does the same job as the $5 sleeve. I use the sleeve. Do it next time you're down there with the machine running. Number 7 is the one that matters more than the other 6 together. I fill the sink all the way up and I pull the plug. I don't run the tap. Running hot water for a minute feels like the same thing, only gentler and longer. It isn't the same thing at all, and there's no reason you'd know why. Here's what's actually happening. That line is nearly flat. A running tap puts a thin stream down the middle of it. It wets the bottom third of the pipe, slides along, and never touches the wall where the film lives. There's no mass behind it. A full basin dropped at once fills the whole cross-section of that pipe for a few seconds. It travels as a slug. That is the only thing in ordinary household use that scrubs the top and the sides of the pipe. It's the entire reason my own lines stay smooth. So here's how I do it. Kitchen sink filled to the overflow, which is about 2 gallons. Tub filled to its overflow. I skip the bathroom sink because it doesn't hold enough water to matter. That's not laziness. A gallon can't form a slug in a 2-inch line. Once a week per fixture. Last thing at night after the last use of the day. That part matters. The line then has 8 hours with nothing else entering it, so whatever got lifted has a clear run all the way out to the main instead of being handed off to the next trickle from somebody brushing their teeth. Hot from the tap, not boiling. Boiling water is hard on older joints and on plastic traps, and it scours no better because scouring is mass and speed, not temperature. One more thing, and this is the part I'd want you to take. I don't do the drop on a night I've cooked heavy. I wipe, I wash, and I wait until the following night. A warm slug straight after greasy dishes just carries that fat further out to the cold part of the run. The drop is for a line that's already been rinsed. It's not a way to chase grease down the pipe. Do the arithmetic over the time you'll own the house. A kitchen line clearing on a Saturday sits in that same range I've been quoting, and a house running on trickle usually earns one every 2 or 3 years for as long as you're there. The drop costs you the water in the basin. Tonight, plug the kitchen sink, let it fill while you do something else, and pull it. Now I want to be straight with you about why nobody's told you most of this. A 40-minute call to clear a line is a job with a price on it. A sink full of water and a plug is not a job. So it isn't on anybody's van, it isn't in anybody's advertising, and it isn't in the 40 minutes a guy spends under your cabinet before he goes to his next call. Nobody decided to withhold it, it just never comes up. But I don't want to leave you thinking the answer is never to spend money, because that's not true either. If your house is past 50 and nobody's ever put a camera down the sewer lateral, the line running out to the street, have it scoped once. A couple $100. It's worth every one of them because it's the difference between maintaining a line and waiting on one. If it comes back clean, the habits in this video are the whole job. If it shows a bad joint or roots, you know what you own and you can plan instead of react. 3 of the 7 cost you nothing at all. Start there and watch what your own number does over 2 months. Now, some slow drains aren't habits at all, and I'd rather you knew which is which. Case 1. Every drain in the house is slow, the basement floor drain is the slowest, or a sink burps when the washing machine drains. That's past your fixtures on the one line the whole house shares. Watch the washer especially because it moves the most water the fastest, so it's the fixture that exposes a shared restriction first. This is where I'd call a plumber. It needs a camera and a machine from a cleanout, and in older neighborhoods, it's usually a clay lateral with roots. Roots come back on a schedule. You want that line seen, not just poked open. Case 2. One fixture gurgles when a different one drains. That's air, not blockage. The line is pulling air back through a trap seal because it can't get it from the vent. If it started after roof work or a hard freeze, the vent stack may be closed off at the roof, and that's roof work, not drain work. People snake the fixture over and over, and it seems to work for a day. What they restored was the trap seal, not the drain. Case 3. Water comes up out of the basement floor drain in heavy rain. That's not household buildup. The municipal line is surcharging. A backwater valve or an overhead sewer is permit and inspection work, and it's a call. Case 4. Somebody already poured a chemical drain cleaner in there. Don't plunge it, don't snake it, don't put a hand in that water. Caustic splashback is a real injury, and it happens to people who are trying to help. Let it sit, don't add a second product on top of it, and tell whoever comes exactly what went down so he can protect himself. As for buying the stuff in the first place, save your money, you don't need it. The ones that work generate heat inside a line that might be old cast iron or thin plastic. The ones that don't leave a caustic slug sitting on top of the real problem for the next person to meet. Case 5. One fixture clears, then re-clogs in the same spot within a week or two every time. That isn't habits. That's the line itself, a belly or a lost slope, often under a slab or behind a finished wall. Confirming it takes a camera, and correcting it means opening something that should be opened once and opened correctly. That's a call too. So here's the 2-basin test I promised you. 10 minutes tonight, no tools. Fill the basin to the top and drop it. Time how long it takes to empty. Wait 5 minutes, fill it again, drop it again, and time the second one. If the second drop is meaningfully faster than the first, the restriction is film on the pipe wall, in the part of the line your own water can reach. That's the good answer. The weekly drop will keep pulling it back, and your number should improve over a couple of months. If the second drop is the same or slower, the restriction isn't on a wall you can reach. It's downstream, or it's slope, or it's air, and no habit in this video will fix it. That's not a failure, that's information, and it's the difference between doing this every week for nothing and knowing to make one phone call. And if the second drop pushes water up into a different fixture, stop there. That's the shared line, that's case 1, and that's a call. If you do one thing after this, do this. Tonight, plug the kitchen sink, let it fill, and pull it. That one on its own does more than the other 6 put together. Subscribe if you'd like more of these, and I'll see you on the next one.